You guys, I know that my life might seem really glamorous, like daughter of Satan. She gets all these fun privileges. She gets to talk about horror movies on the internet and make money doing it. But sometimes one of our subjects will do something really stupid, and then I have to pull a Draco Malfoy and be like, my father will hear about this. Like, goddammit, Abigail, and now we have to talk about this. If you're new here, I really can't get into my full life story, but yes, I am the daughter of Satan. Yes, I am his favorite daughter. The haunted hippie cult is a strong one, full of many friends, so if you would like to join us, all you have to do is click subscribe. If you enjoy hearing the rantings and ravings of an Antichrist impersonator, then I would also recommend clicking the notification bell, that way you're notified of every new video. Also click the like button, let's appeal to these algorithm gods. Today I will be ranting and raving about my spoiler-free thoughts about Abigail, and then later on I'll do a really brief little spoiler section, because I know that we are about to hit the second weekend of this movie's release, and so most of you, I'm sure, probably haven't seen it yet. My regular cult members already know what's up, but also to you guys, yes, I am in a different location. How cute is this altar, though? This witch altar? I'm visiting my friends in the UK, for anybody new here. So my location these next few weeks is probably gonna, like, bounce around a little bit. Anyways, I was so hyped for Abigail. Like, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I didn't actually do a ranking like I normally do of my, like, top 10, top 5 most anticipated. Abigail would have been at least like in my top 5, if not my top 3. My number 1 probably has to go to Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Abigail might have been right underneath it. I don't know. If you have been a regular for a long time, you will know that for years I touted that Ready or Not was my favorite horror movie of all time, but I could never choose between that and The Ring. Now I can't choose between Scream and Midsommar. But for a long time, Ready or Not was one of my all-time favorite movies. It was in my Letterboxd top 4. I was on the radio silence train way back when, before they blew up with Scream and everything. Yes, I'm a unique and quirky girl. Yes, I find things before everyone else thinks they're cool. No, that's not my point. I'm just trying to stress how excited I was for Abigail. I do find their installments of Scream to be the weakest of the franchise, but the worst Scream movie is still one of my favorite movies of all time. You know what I mean? They gave us some really fun movies. I love both their Scream movies. I also got to see this movie in theaters with my friends in the UK. Horror is what brought us together, why we're even friends in the first place. So to see a movie with them when I hadn't been to a new release with them since Halloween Ends in 2022, I was so excited to redeem that and see a movie that I thought that I was gonna love in theaters with them. And it didn't quite happen, but I do want to get into all my positives first before this turns into the ravings of a displeased audience member, because I typically don't really review movies that I don't like. I still liked Abigail, far from loved it. I have way more complaints than positive things to say, and I feel like that's really annoying. Like, I don't enjoy reviewing movies that I didn't like unless, you know, they're fun to make fun of, they're so bad that they're good or something. So before I bog us down, let's go over the positives. Alicia Weir, everything about her performance, honey. I'm sure that you're seeing people talking her up on Twitter. I guess she went from a movie musical of Matilda to this. So let's talk about range, first of all. Also, I believe she's Irish, so she had to put on a British accent for Matilda and an American accent for Abigail. And I'm pretty sure that she shot this when she was like 11 years old. Oh, Todd. Hi, Toddy. Want to say hi? This is Todd. He's my son. My son. Ew, your beard's wet. Probably just had some water. Are you hydrated, my boy? Aw, kisses. Anyways, what was I saying? Her performance was so good that she honestly outshined pretty much every single adult in the movie, save for maybe Dan Stevens. But her performance was my favorite by far. I mean, Catherine Newton, she has her moment. I think she has a moment in this movie that I really loved. Yummy fingers? Yummy fingers, yeah. Dan Stevens really does get to have his fun here, and I'm so glad that the industry has realized that they should just cast him in everything. He's also in Godzilla x Kong. I've been trying to hype him up since, like, I think 2021 with Dave Franco's directorial debut, The Rental. I was like, this dude is really good. And he's also in that Micah Monroe movie, The Guest. That movie's awesome. So I love Dan Stevens. I think he got to have some fun with his role. But Alicia Weir, I'm sorry, she kind of outshined everybody. Catherine Newton also got to have fun. We'll talk about that more during, like, the spoiler section. But anytime that she was on screen, she ate that shit up. She stole every single scene that she was in, rightfully so. Because I mean, with this concept, you've got to find the right child actor, and believe you me, they did. She has this thing about her that some child actors have. I would say that it's kind of similar to Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense. I don't think that her performance is in the same league as that, because that one was far, far more emotional and like more adult, but she still very much had the vibe that some child actors do, where she feels like an adult in a child's body. Oh, Toddy, he's taking a little nap. You could just tell that like she had the maturity to understand the movie that she was in, and she really took it there. God bless her. That being said, I just had so much fun whenever she was on screen, and it was stupid fun. It was really, really stupid fun. Just like Ready or Not, although a lot of the comedy was really wooden, it didn't quite work for me. I feel like obvious is kind of a good word to use for a lot of the comedy in this. Alicia Weir, though, genuinely hilarious, and also you get to see so much of her range just in this movie. When things got rolling, I would say after the first like 45 minutes, I was on board with some of the more outlandish stuff. It did seem a little bit too little too late at times, but I still was able to enjoy a lot of this stupid fun, as I like to call it. Like, forgetting any complaints that I have, it's a really, really good popcorn flick. It was also pretty gory at times. I was expecting more of it, which I'll get into with my cons, but the gore that was there for the most part was really, really well done. There were some things about it that I found to be pretty original that I had not seen in this kind of horror subgenre before. And for my last positive, there were definitely a lot of Ready or Not similarities. The similarities that I did enjoy were they used one location to their advantage. It was a gorgeous location, and it was also shot really, really well. They took full advantage of the setting that they were in. The lighting plan and everything was so gorgeous. And the coloring of it too. And the action sequences were great when they were happening, but to get into my cons, the action sequences were just too few and far between. And also one of my biggest cons are all the similarities to Ready or Not. For instance, the gore that I was talking about, there is a very signature move that they pull in Ready or Not that they put into Abigail as well. And it's a really fun thing to do, but when you've seen it before, it kind of detracts from the shock value of it. That's why it was so funny in Ready or Not, because I had never seen anything like that before. So when they did it in Abigail, I was like, okay, it's a little bit rinse and repeat. That's why in my Letterboxd review, I said something similar happened to my friend Grace a few years ago, because I really felt like I was watching Ready or Not. They just changed a few elements of the story, really. And I know that some people think that that'd be a good thing. I did see somebody on Letterboxd saying people that love Ready or Not are gonna love this movie. Well, I love Ready or Not. I, for a long time, said that it was my favorite horror movie of all time. And for me, that took away from my experience with Abigail. Sorry if the lighting changes, by the way. We're in the UK, a lot of clouds. They like to move around, you know, what are you gonna do? I'm just personally ready for the Radio Silence guys to kind of get out of their comfort zone. I would really like them to try something else. And yes, with this movie, they broke into a subgenre that they had not tackled before, but then they relied on their old tricks. I can totally understand why this ended up happening, because Ready or Not has definitely found a new crowd since the Scream movies came out, because everyone is now retroactively kind of discovering Ready or Not and realizing how fantastic it is. And I love that for them, but I think that they took the wrong lesson from that. Ready or Not is so unique, both story-wise and some of the gore elements that I'm trying to be vague about, I'm sorry. It's very timely because it's like fuck the rich, and rather than stylistically trying something new, I felt that they were just too reliant on what's worked for them in the past. Even down to who they're casting and the types of characters that they're writing. Melissa's character, I'm rooting for her, will support her at any cost. I think she did the best with what she was given, because her character was basically just Sam from Scream. And even less interesting, because this really isn't a spoiler. In Scream, you have the whole layer of her character where her father is a serial killer, and so she has some of those violent tendencies in her. So imagine Sam, but without that super interesting, fun layer to the character. it was boring. Like, her character was boring to me. Also, in recreating some of the iconic moments from Ready or Not, I felt like this movie was almost trying too hard to be iconic. Instead of just letting moments breathe and speak for themselves, you could tell how hard they were like trying to be cool, if that makes sense. I have specific examples, but we'll get into that with spoilers. An example that's not really a spoiler is when character motivations would be revealed. Everyone's motivations in this movie, protagonist or antagonist, were completely generic. You learn way too much about these thieves and not nearly enough about Abigail. Rather than having more characters and upping the body count and making this a more fun, true slasher, we spend entire scenes just learning about the background of these characters that I care nothing about. It would be different if what was revealed about these characters actually led anywhere, but it doesn't. You also don't need that, because when a character is trapped in a situation and they're fighting for their life, like they literally just want to survive, sometimes that is motivation enough. Like, I get it, you don't want to die. I don't need to know that the muscle of the group was bullied as a kid. Like, you know? I think that my biggest gripe by far, because this 100% colored my experience with Abigail, the marketing ruined everything. I thought the marketing was so cowardly after seeing the movie. I never watched the trailer. All I knew basically was a synopsis. I knew what genre it was, but knowing even the basic synopsis that's, I guess, revealed by the trailer, it shows all their cards in the movie. It really bums me out to think if that hadn't been spoiled for me, I probably would be on board with everyone else in thinking how iconic it is. But unfortunately for me, with a movie like this that doesn't have any deeper psychological layers or any like social context, I need the shock value to find it enjoyable. If the humor is gonna be low-hanging fruit, then I need the action to be even more over the top and surprising. So when somehow the best twist of the movie is ruined for someone that never even saw the trailers, I just think that you're doing something wrong. I'm like, where is the confidence? Did these guys not have a say in their trailer? You would think for the team that brought the world Ready or Not and then so much success to the Scream franchise and just completely revitalizing it, that they would probably have some say in their marketing, no? Especially because this is an original film. It's original IP. It really bums me out because I don't really know how I could have avoided things any better. But here we are, and I have to imagine that that's how most people viewed the movie, with the same knowledge that I had. And again, like I said, it would be different if this movie was just packed, like balls to the wall action. If the humor had landed, if the characters were more well written and more interesting, then I could easily forgive that. However, it was what it was. I do still recommend going out to see this movie because I think that at the bare minimum you will have fun with the second half of it if you have a really similar taste to me. But honestly, just for how hyped I was, especially because I have been screaming from the rooftops about Catherine Newton ever since Freaky in 2020. I was like, she is gonna be our next horror girly. Okay, she was also in the Paranormal Activity franchise. Then she went and did Ant-Man and I was like, ooh, we might have lost the plot. I'm sorry, tangents. With how hyped I was because of Catherine Newton and Melissa Barrera in the same movie, like, are you kidding me? It just did not deliver. So take that, do with that what you will. I think you could potentially still have a lot of fun going to the theater to see it. And you know, maybe I've lowered your expectations and you'll end up having more fun than you thought you were going to. Hopefully that's a silver lining, that some of you still enjoy the movie more than I did. I don't think that I'd be clamoring to own this movie. At this moment in time, I feel like I've gotten what I need to out of it and I don't really see myself watching it again. Anyway, let's get into a brief spoiler section, shall we? I do actually feel like a lot of my audience members will probably have already seen this movie if you have similar taste to me, because even though I'm abroad, I was like, I have to see this opening weekend. Anyway, going back to the marketing and just talking about holding your cards, I remember how Malignant was marketed back in, was 2021? It was marketed as a really generic kind of rinse and repeat James Wan horror film. I believe from what I remember from like the clips of the trailers that I'd seen, because I was still kind of watching trailers back then, I remember that it seemed like it was marketed as a paranormal imaginary friend kind of movie, and I was like, oh no, James Wan, please, we have to move on from your Insidious Conjuring era. We must. And we did, because holy shit, that movie is insane. Uh-oh, Luna, we got the big girl. Hi, Luna. What do you need, darling? Okay. I think I've talked a lot about that movie on my channel and how masterfully the cards are withheld from you throughout your viewing experience. I never knew which way was up when I was watching that film, and I loved it for that. Is it a masterpiece? No, but because it is such a bonkers thrill ride, I love it still. In fairness, Malignant had $12 million more than Abigail did. Abigail is very much like a standard kind of mid-budget film, at least in today's world, so I can understand why there wasn't some crazy action sequence like every 5 minutes, but for almost no action in like the first 45 minutes of the movie, because, spoilers now, Abigail being revealed to be the killer and the vampire was the best and only twist of the movie. Yeah, things are revealed about all the characters, and it's like, oh, she's brought them here, and she was the mastermind behind everything. But it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, have you seen a trailer? Have you heard the synopsis? They had no more cards up their sleeve, besides the fact that the little girl they kidnapped was a vampire. Besides Matthew Good showing up at the end to make us beg for a sequel, which he's really just not famous enough for that to be a huge reveal. I'm sorry. Matthew Good, great actor, done great things. I had to Google him because I was like, this is being framed as a huge reveal, and I don't know this man. I'm sorry to this man, but I don't know him. If it was like Christian Bale or something, that's a whole other story. I would have freaked out. The theater employees would have found my pee all over my theater seat. That was graphic and unnecessary. I know, I'm woken up the child. I've woken up Todd. I'm sorry. Oh no, he can't. He's like laying on my hand now. You can't sleep like that. I need my hand to talk. I speak like an Italian, Todd. Don't you know this? That type of a cameo, when you're paying for a big actor like that for a full day of filming, that's intentional by the filmmakers. That's not the studio going, oh, let's throw this in because the movie was good, so we want potential for a sequel. That's how I felt about the first Omens ending. This was like, okay, these filmmakers are banking on trying to make this iconic mic drop moment, rather than putting a little bit more of that focus and maybe that budget, because I don't know how much Matthew Good costs for a day, rather than funneling that into just making the entire movie a little bit better, trying to bait us with an ending like that. I don't know, by that point I was just like, well, too little too late, boys. Getting into some spoilers with how I felt they kind of ripped off Ready or Not though, the people exploding, the vampires exploding, I was like, come on. Of course it's fun seeing people explode, but it was so fun and I was so taken with it in Ready or Not because I'd never seen it before. It was genuinely just insane, like a huge, literally explosive shock. For people that have never seen Ready or Not, I can see how this would be great, and I don't know if that's what they were banking on, because it's either that or they're thinking, well, this is our signature move, we're the guys that make people explode. Either way, I don't know, do something different. For me personally, that reads as a little bit lazy. Like, yes, it's never been done in the vampire subgenre before that I'm aware of, but I would have rather seen some practical effect of like, you know, an Indiana Jones type face melt or something. Could you imagine? And oh, they could have done it practically too. Just felt extremely rinse and repeat, especially because it happens multiple times in this movie. Maybe it would have gotten me if it happened at the very, very end with Dan Stevens' character or something, which he had a lot of fun, but also he was one of the characters that I could have stood to learn a little bit more about, because his motivations just didn't really make sense to me, like not at all. Like, okay, they revealed that he used to be in cahoots with the vampire people, and I'll never be confused about like, you know, he grasping at power and stuff. But then when he wanted to kill Joey, it's just like, why are we doing this, kids? Though Dan Stevens, I could tell that he was having a blast, and I did love his performance in the end. That was really the only moment of his that I was super gripped by, and the same thing happened with Catherine Newton, where the only moment that I was floored by was her little dance when she was getting possessed by Abigail. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that pretty much any other moment with her leading up to that, all of her comedy fell flat, and I don't think that's her fault because it felt very written. The comedy did not feel natural. Like, I really think that they should have let their actors improvise empathize a lot more, because Katherine Newton can be funny when the lines are well written. For example, in Lisa Frankenstein, you have Diablo Cody writing, and so obviously improv is not really needed. In Abigail, it was like, I'm supposed to be laughing because she's like, oh wait, sorry, I just need to finish sending this text, as he's like collecting the phones. I don't know, how could you write that and then possibly expect us to do more than like let out a small puff of air from our nose? But oh my god, her moment dancing was iconic. And right then and there, I was like, you know what? How dare you underutilize Katherine Newton for the rest of her screen time? This was so fun. This was so charming and chaotic. I needed a lot more of that. Just like I needed a lot more of Abigail herself and Abigail's history. It feels like they're saving their cards for a sequel. And I feel like I can comfortably say that because of what I was talking about with the ending. How they're like dangling Matthew Good as basically Dracula and being like, don't you want to see this guy again? Don't you want to see these guys again in a sequel? They just didn't give us enough with this first installment to lay a good foundation. I wanted to know so much more about Abigail when there's the whole reveal where she's in the cage and she's, you know, going one by one. It takes fucking forever when she's talking about how all these people did her family dirty. And I'm like, I don't care. I have not cared about these people for the entire runtime. I am so interested in you. You're hundreds of years old, a vampire stuck in like a 12-year-old body. Tell me more. Why would I be interested in the fact that their getaway driver is a sociopath? What is that supposed to do for me? That never comes up again because guess what? He's the first one killed. So they don't even give you a moment to be like, oh my god, maybe it's the sociopath driver that's killing everyone because he's the first to go. Just so many nonsensical decisions made in this movie. Like, I can't make sense of it. Especially because Ready or Not, such a simple concept, so tight. The characters were so well written and so strong. Also, I think it might just be the fact that a lot of the actors in Ready or Not had somewhat of like a comedic background because they brought that shit to life. Whereas with Abigail, I don't know if it was like just the writing and they truly were doing the best they could, but the material, it did not have muchness. I just felt like so many roads led nowhere, and then the very ending of the film was so rinse and repeat from Ready or Not yet again. Both the girls end up covered in blood, which I'm not going to complain about that. What do you think, I'm stupid? But in Ready or Not, she's got the cigarette and she lights that and it's in her mouth. Oh, iconic, in-laws. And then in Abigail, instead of a cigarette, it's a lollipop. It just felt very anticlimactic to me because she gets thrown around a bajillion trillion times and doesn't really fight her way out of it. She kind of lucked out with the ending of that one. So I didn't find Joey to really be that iconic of a final girl. She really didn't do anything for me. And this is coming from someone that loves Melissa. I realized that I had a lot of complaints, but I did give this movie 3 stars. Like, it's not one that I regret seeing. I had fun in the theater with my friends. I think I just ranted and raved so much because of all the wasted potential. That's the biggest bummer of it all to me. But I'll wrap it up here. Obviously, let me know all of your thoughts down below. If they are going to contain a spoiler, then just put a spoiler warning at the top of the comment, because I hope that most people can go into this movie more blind than I did and have more fun with it. If you'd like to find me on social media, that is all linked down below. You can also find my second channel where I talk about physical media and where I vlog my spooky outings. Next week, you're getting my vlog of Amsterdam, which is a fun time. I make lots of content all over the place, including on Patreon. Those are the lovely names you see scrolling on screen right now. If you'd like to join them, you can find everything down below. More than anything, I just hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope I catch you in the next one. Bye!